On May 6, 1989, the police received complaints from citizens about smelling a foul odor. The police officers went to a Spanish-style small house in a village in Shatin to investigate, thus uncovering a horrific murder case. The police arrived at the scene to investigate. They found severely decomposed female body parts in the small house, due to the unprecedented method of disposing of corpses in this case. This case of dissolving the body of a flight attendant caused a sensation at the time, and it also revealed a triangle of sinful love, as mentioned in the citizens' complaint. When the police arrived at the door of the small house, they already smelled a very unpleasant smell. The police officers came to the second floor and knocked on the door for a while. Before someone opened the door, the police found that the house was in a mess. There was a man and a woman inside. The man was David Huang and the woman was Yu Muling. Their eyes were blurred. Experienced police officers saw that they seemed to have abused illegal drugs. The unit involved in the case is 3 stories high, with a family living on the ground floor, and the second and third floors are rented by David Huang. The police entered the unit on the second floor to investigate and found no source of the odor, except for a small amount of cocaine. Knowing that the third floor was also rented by David Huang, the police officer asked to go to the third floor to check. David Huang had to slowly take the key upstairs and open the door. Once entering the unit on the third floor, the pungent and unpleasant smell became even stronger. The air inside was not only pungent to the nose, but also irritating to the eyes. The police officers quickly asked David Huang what was so smelly. David Huang told the police officers that his pet dog died. A giant iron box in the bathroom attracted the attention of the police officers present. The police officer asked David Huang what was in the iron box. David Huang said that it contained a dead pet dog. The police forcefully pried open the iron box and discovered a severely decomposed female limb, which was not a pet dog at all, because the body had been treated with corrosive chemical liquids. Only the bones remained. After the forensic doctor arrived at the scene, he found a human-shaped skull in the iron box, emitting a corpse stench. Even the most experienced forensic doctors had never seen such a scene. This is one of the top 10 mysterious cases in Hong Kong. The police investigation found that David Huang and Yu Muling were lovers. So who was the one who was stuffed into the iron box? David Huang, one of the defendants in this case, is a Chinese American who holds a US passport and is tall and handsome. Not only can he speak fluent English, but he also drives around in a convertible all day long. He is attentive to beautiful women when he sees them, and he is very good at pleasing women, so he has many girlfriends around him. When it comes to the story of this case, we have to start with a love triangle. Huang Zhijin, 28 years old at the time, was a senior stewardess of a major Hong Kong airline. She also became David Huang's girlfriend after his pursuit. At first, Huang Zhijin didn't know that David Huang was a playboy, and she wasn't the only one. Among them was a woman named Yu Muling, who loved David Huang with all her heart. It is said that Yu Muling is a married woman, but after she quarreled with her husband over David Huang, she moved to David Huang's rental house, and the two began to live together. Yu Muling also divorced her husband in order to be with David Huang. After falling in love for a while, Huang Zhijin discovered that although David Huang was a Chinese American, he did not have a serious job and was idle all day long. He was not actually rich. He rented luxury cars and residences, and has a bad habit of taking cocaine. After Huang Zhijin and David dated, David asked Huang Zhijin to borrow money from time to time. He had already borrowed 50,000 yuan from Huang Zhijin. At the same time, he still owed tens of thousands in credit card and car rental companies. David Huang got the money from Huang Zhijin and used it to rent a house, rent a car, and take drugs. He was a real soft-boiled man. Zhijin's friends once persuaded Zhijin to leave David Huang, but Zhijin was completely fascinated by David Huang's sweet words, and had fallen deeply into this relationship. She always hoped that David Huang can get better, until Huang Zhijin discovered that David was not only lazy but also used borrowed money to pretend to be rich, chasing other girls, and stepping on several boats. At this moment, Huang Zhijin finally couldn't bear it anymore and was very angry. She felt that she was devoted to David wholeheartedly, both financially and emotionally, but she didn't expect that he would betray her. Moreover, Zhijin also discovered that there was another woman hiding in David's rental house. Because Huang Zhijin is a flight attendant, she often has to fly back and forth due to her work. It was Huang's other girlfriend Yu Muling who lived in David Huang's rental house. When do women know about each other's existence? A normal person's approach should be to stay away from the scumbag, but Huang Xijin and Yu Muling were both thinking about how to get David back, and they often became jealous and quarreled over this man. As for David Huang, a scumbag, he doesn't want to give up on Yu Muling, who obeys him, nor Huang Xijin, who gives him financial support. The early morning of May 6, 1989, Xijin left his residence after receiving a phone call and has lost contact with her since then. Later, the forensic doctor confirmed that the deceased, whose body was dissolved in the large iron box, was none other than flight attendant Huang Xijin. Unexpectedly, Huang Xijin, who is only 28 years old, would never return. Not only was he killed and dismembered, his body was also severely corroded with hydrochloric acid and placed in a large iron box.
According to the testimony of a resident who lived opposite the murder scene at the time, he heard a fierce quarrel between two women coming from the unit where the crime occurred that night. Later, a male voice intervened to mediate. The witness said that he felt that the man seemed to want to help. On one side, the argument lasted for about 10 minutes and then suddenly stopped. The police immediately arrested David Huang and Yu Muling. In August 1990, the two defendants were unanimously found guilty of murder and obstructing the lawful burial of the deceased. The judge sentenced the two defendants to death as usual. In fact, it was life imprisonment because the death penalty was basically not executed at that time. The case caused a sensation in the city at the time. In addition, there was a complicated love triangle between the deceased and the two defendants. Therefore, it was adapted into many movies and TV series, such as The Case of the Dissolved Corpse and A Strong Heart, etc. At this point in the story, if you think the case is over, you are wrong. Because of the subsequent case, there was a 180-degree turn. Both men had already served time in prison, but both later appealed. During the appeal, the female defendant suddenly overturned her previous evidence and took on all charges. David Huang only retained the charge of obstructing the legal burial of the deceased and was actually released in court. The female defendant's conviction was changed from murder to manslaughter and was eventually released from prison in 1994. At that time, in addition to being widely reported by the media because of the extremely brutal way the murderer handled the body, the male defendant David Huang continued to pursue girls while serving his sentence. He had an affair with a female social worker who often visited prisoners in prison and was in prison. During the retrial, his new wife knelt down in court to plead for her husband, saying that her husband was innocent. This became a hot topic in society at the time, but they eventually divorced in 1998. The defendant in this case, David Huang, had chaotic polyamorous relationships with multiple women due to emotional disputes. After one of his girlfriends died, he brutally dismembered his body in a large iron box, causing a sensation in Hong Kong. In the end, even after going to jail, he did not stop chasing girls. He married a social worker in prison. Poor David Huang's two girlfriends, one died for him and the other went to jail for him. However, David Huang himself regained his freedom after the retrial and started a new life. Do you think this David Huang is really attractive, or is he an out-and-out scumbag?